What is up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to the Built on Bitcoin podcast, where we cover everything going on across the Bitcoin ecosystem, focused on innovation. So we're talking to the builders, no price talk, none of that, not number go up, just who's building cool shit. And I'm your humble host, Jacob Brown, but you'll see me around as Jake Blockchain. And this is a This Week in Bitcoin episode. So we're covering everything I saw in the past week or so across Bitcoin, Lightning, Stacks, RSK, and Blockstream when I see stuff. So without further ado, got a jam-packed one this week. There's a bunch of ordinal stuff, not just the regular kind of art inscriptions, but some potential new use cases coming to ordinals, some Stacks wallet updates, and some interesting Lightning news, as well as a big update from RSK. So without further ado, let's jump in and starting with Bitcoin main chain. So what did I see this week in Bitcoin main chain, which a lot of this is ordinals related? The biggest, probably by far, is Yuga launched a collection called 12-fold. So if you don't know Yuga, they are the owners of the Bored Ape Yacht Club brand. Biggest entity in NFTs by far. Huge on Ethereum, really pushing the space forward. And they want to test the waters with Bitcoin and this new ordinals thing. So they slapped together a pretty rudimentary website effort. And a lot of people had some beef around the way that they took custody. You know, understandable. But I think that the fact that they got a MVP out so fast and people bidded, and the end result was about $16 million in winning auctions for this 288-piece collection, is super bullish for ordinals and this future of moving NFTs onto Bitcoin to be stored forever. So people have all kinds of opinions. I think this is super net positive. People are just thinking short term, but really cool to see you could get into the space and move so quickly. All right, next up on the topic of ordinals, but not in the art space, John Light, who you might know, I've covered him in the past. He's been on the show. He wrote a fantastic research paper on the state of rollups on Bitcoin. And he put together a tweet thread showing how you could potentially have rollups on Bitcoin via ordinals. So you could use Bitcoin as a data layer through inscriptions. I'll link it in the description below, but pretty interesting. And then within a week and a half or so of him tweeting that tweet thread, the team behind Celestia, which is a modular blockchain, I haven't looked into it, so I can't tell you too much about what Celestia is, but that team announced something called Rollkit, which is a research MVP of bringing rollups to Bitcoin in a real way. So highly recommend if you want to be at the forefront of probably what's going to be the next like big exploration in Bitcoin over the next 12 months. That might be it. All right, next up, Bitcoin Optech, which is like the newsletter if you want to be involved in what's going on at the lower levels of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Core, this kind of thing. It's very in the weeds, very nerdy, but it's the place to be if you want to be watching about opcodes and this kind of thing. They're dropping a podcast. So they'll do more covering the same topics they already do with their weekly newsletter, but they'll be able to go more in depth and more nuanced with this podcast. And you can listen on the go. So super cool. Somebody, a Twitter account named Coin360, put together a Bitcoin ecosystem map. You see these around Ethereum, Stacks, whatever, about all the different entities that exist on DeFi, NFTs, trading, whatever it is. Bitcoin ecosystem is growing very fast, and they posted a ecosystem map about a week ago. Looks pretty good. And then he posted one 2 days ago, and it's like 3 times the size. So much popping up. Very exciting. All right, continuing on. It's all ordinals all day, baby. There's a new site called inscribe.news, which is what they're pushing forward as the ordinal news standard, where you'll be able to, with a simple website, type in a title, add a URL, some description, and you can have a piece of news forever inscribed on the blockchain, which is kind of following in the same footsteps of the Genesis block, where Satoshi put Chancellor something 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 banks on the brink of failure, and it's like a time stamp, which the chain already has, but also with the headline news to combine those two and make it vividly clear that this block happened on this day. So Inscribe.news can do that in the same way, where you can post something that you think is noteworthy and no one can censor it. It's on nodes across the world. All right. Two more big ones for Bitcoin main chain. Actually, one more. I'm going to move one of these to the stacks area. Ordinal's wallet, which is one of the first Ordinal's wallets that launched. And they're also first now to creating the first trustless marketplace. So if we don't know, because Ordinals is so new, we're like 45 days into it really popping, it's still super cumbersome to use. A lot of wallets still don't allow transfers. They're coming online in the past week or so, and marketplaces are super, super new. There's ordinals.market if you want to put your ordinal into an emblem vault, and then you can trade it on ETH. But doing it strictly on Bitcoin has been tricky without some kind of trusted third party. And so now there's these new things called PSBTs. Actually, I'm not sure how new they are, but they're coming to fruition and being used. These PSBTs are partially signed Bitcoin transactions. And so the combo of these PSBTs and Taproot, you'll be able to create fully trustless marketplaces where you can list your ordinal and get paid in Bitcoin, and it's fully safe to use. So Ordinal's wallet was the first to market. Site looks pretty good too. So you can check it out at ordinalswallet.com. Use that wallet if you want, but also you can hop into the marketplace and trade you some ordinals. All right, next up, moving on to the stacks side of things, which really is still largely ordinals focused, but because these teams started as stacks-based teams, I give them their own little section in the stack side. So Megapont, which has been building NFT collections since October 2021. They're pretty stacks OGs, kind of the blue chip on stacks, super cool looking pixel art. But what I think is so interesting about this is that they're a dev heavy team. And so they're not just launching an NFT collection. They've been building some in-house tooling called Apollo behind the scenes. And with it, they used it to wallet capture, but also to make it as easy as possible for you to take custody of your ordinal. And so if you go to megapunks.com, they have this thing called Magic Bitcoin Box, where when you own an ordinal and you minted it through ETH in this case, they give you a POP or a proof of purchase. And with that proof of purchase NFT, you can then take it into the Megapunks Magic Bitcoin Box, and you can choose. You want to put it in an emblem vault, which is where kind of like a multi-sig wallet with a private key of your ordinal is stored there, but it's in the emblem vault. So you can't control it anymore. You can go sell that emblem vault, and then someone can open it and then get access to their ordinal. So you can choose to do that, or you can unwrap it, if you will, and have the ordinal sent directly to the Taproot enabled wallet of your choice. So far, it's the best experience I've seen to balance the friction that currently exists with ordinals and making it as easy as possible, but also getting access to the state of liquidity that is across the different ecosystems. So if you're trying to launch a collection, I might get in touch with the Megapont team because they're building some pretty cool shit. All right. Next up, I'm going to take a quick break from ordinals and jump into some DeFi stuff. So Arcadigo is a DeFi protocol on stacks. They allow you to lock up your stacks or XBTC and mint a stablecoin. And you can also tie in that locked collateral and put it into the stacking protocol so that it pays itself back. Super cool protocol. They released their 2023 roadmap, things they're working on. Top priority right now is being ready for the new stacks upgrade launching in less than 2 weeks. It changes the way stacking works a little bit. So currently a cycle is 2 weeks, but once your amount of cycles is up, you have to cool down for one cycle. So you can't be stacked for that cycle. With the new upgrade, you can stack continuously. So you have to adjust the protocol to make that work. They're also working on updating a stable swap between USDA, which is their stablecoin, and XUSD, which is a wrapped form of USDC. There's a Stacks bridge coming online pretty soon to be able to flow back and forth between Stacks and ETH for stablecoins, USDC in particular. So they want to rework that swap to make it as efficient as possible, but also helps maintain the peg between USDA and USDC. And then one other thing they're working on is some kind of Oracle solution called the MPC Oracle, or a multi-party computation Oracle. I don't know what that means, but if you want to learn more about that roadmap, it's in the description below. All right, back to ordinals for a little bit. Xverse released an update. They now support ordinal transfers, so that's super exciting. The Hero Wallet also released and updated the same feature, so very, very cool. It's crazy to see how teams went from there was like almost no way to send your ordinals 3 weeks ago to now there's 3 or 4 wallets that support it. And the Hero Wallet team also announced BNS name support in the Hero Wallet. So now you can send BTC or Stacks, whatever assets, directly to a .btc name. So if you hold, built on Bitcoin.btc, then you can type in that send address and you'll send the BTC to the correct wallet by querying the BNS name system. So very, very cool. This is a big issue in Nostr right now where you have to find someone's public key to make them a friend. So discovery is super, super difficult. It makes it so much easier to send assets to the correct person. Next up, continuing on the BNS side, there's been a work in progress between Jeff and Hank from Mechanism. Their team in Stacks working on extending the use cases and functionality of the BNS name system. They just dropped something called BNSX, which allows you to hold more than one .btc name or BNS name in a wallet. Currently, it's one name per wallet. So if you want to hold a bunch, you have to create a bunch of sub-accounts, which is annoying. With this BNSX upgrade, you can store a bunch in one wallet, and you can also interact with contracts in a more interactive way, is my understanding. Super early on this. Curious to see how it plays out. But if you want to check it out, it's at dots.so, dots.so, and you can check it out. All right. Last but not least, I think the biggest ordinals update that I saw was from the Gamma team. So they launched a huge, huge, huge update with ordinals and collections. So what does it let you do? You can launch your own collection from the Gamma ordinals portal. And the way they're doing it is super, super smart. So what you'll do is you'll launch your collection. So you upload all your files, your 1,000 images, and then you set the criteria, metadata, title, price, whatever. And then you launch the collection and you can have a mint page. And then the way it works is that the people paying for that piece, they pay the Bitcoin at that time, and they're also paying the inscription fee at that time. So you don't have to front load the collection by paying a bunch of money up front to make sure that those 1,000 pieces are inscribed and hopefully you get your money back. This is a, just in time kind of delivery. So obviously it'll be slower for the person buying. They won't get it immediately. But if there's 1,000 pieces in that collection and you mint one of those 1,000, you'll pay the cost of the NFT, you'll pay the inscription fee, and then it will get sent to the blockchain at that time and then stored forever, and you'll get custody of it. So super cool, super low lift way for collection creators to launch a collection with very little cost up front. You don't have to spin up a node or anything, so it's dead simple. Other cool thing is the usability side. So the storing data on Bitcoin is obviously super expensive. They charge you per byte. So as the image gets bigger, it gets massively expensive. And so what they're doing is when you upload your collection, it'll create 2 files. It'll compress one size, and that will get sent when you're inscribing to keep your costs low. And then they'll keep the high-res file so that when someone is viewing their ordinal on Gamma, they'll see the high-res collection. So on gamma.com, you'll see the sexy image in its full glory, but on the ordinal side, you'll still have the provenance and this digital artifact on Bitcoin Forever. It is yours, but it'll be compressed to save the cost down for you as the inscriber. So huge, huge, huge. I'm very excited to see how this plays out as ordinals mature, especially when their marketplace comes out. So haven't heard any hard dates yet. They're hard at work, but word on the street is they're launching a fully trustless marketplace that taps into everything that is happening on ordinals, but also these collections that they now allow. You'll be able to trade those collections on day one with this new marketplace that's coming out and be fully trustless. So TBD on that. We'll see. All right. Next up, we got Lightning. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
We all know Bitcoin is for the innovators, the revolutionaries, and the builders looking to build a better world for themselves and for the next generation. We also know the saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The same thing applies to building on Bitcoin. If you want to come build with the most active developer community building new use cases for Bitcoin, then it's time you make the leap to learning Clarity. Clarity is the Stack's smart contract programming layer, which enables us to work on DeFi, smart contracts, and so much more, all built with the safety and security that comes with Bitcoin. Start today by going to start.stacks.org. Start.stacks.org has a 5-step journey that will take you from complete Stacks novice to teaching you Clarity all the way to finding a job with a Web3 Stack startup. Don't wait another month, year, or decade waiting to get involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Start building on Bitcoin today. Go to start.stacks.org to start learning and building today.
Thank you as always to my sponsor. All right, got a couple Lightning updates for you. It's actually interesting because in the past few months, it's been Lightning as like the majority of these update sections. And now with ordinals going crazy, it's harder to find news. I don't know if the Lightning devs moved all over to ordinals, but there was a couple big updates. So the first is LightSpark announced its first product, which is that they partnered with a bank called Xapo, XAPO, and they're integrating Lightning with that bank's backend. So they're one of the first banks in the world to directly integrate with the Bitcoin Lightning network. Pretty cool. If you haven't been following Lightspeed, a lot of it's from this guy, David Marcus, who's an OG in the payment space. He handled payments and crypto at Meta. And before that, he was at PayPal. And so when he announced he was getting into the Bitcoin space with this new company called LightSpark, people kind of freaked out because apparently his name holds a lot of weight. So people were watching and seeing what he builds. And also he was able to hire Traj Dirja. I was getting his name wrong, but he is one of the co-creators of Lightning, as well as submarine swaps. So this guy created some very pivotal tech that people use every day in Bitcoin, and pretty early on, he was scooped up to work inside LightSpark. And so I think a lot of people are very bullish on what might come from this company, and they're watching closely. And this is the first example of something that they've been working on behind the scenes. So very cool. And then next, TBD, which is one of the Bitcoin-focused companies underneath the umbrella that is Jack Dorsey's Block, announced another company, kind of like side company they're calling C equals, which is going to be a Lightning service provider, making it easier for businesses to integrate with the Lightning Network. They also announced that they'll be using Block's balance sheet to fund Bitcoin coming on to the Lightning Network. So it's very, very bullish. Seems like the current capacity isn't causing too much headaches for the Lightning Network, but as it scales, we'll need more and more people to bring in big chunks of Bitcoin to make this thing work. So now we got one big commitment from a heavily funded company in Block. All right, last but not least, RSK. One small update, but big in its impact. RSK had a hard cap limit up until recently on how much BTC could be pegged into the system via their proof of work peg, and that has since been lifted. So I'm assuming it was a security measure to make sure that people aren't sending in a huge amount of BTC, and there was some kind of hack or something that would happen, and it would just be catastrophic in its impact. So they had a cap for a while. I'm assuming to make sure the system was rock solid. They feel that it is now, and so that cap has been lifted. So you can deploy as much BTC as you want into RSK and put it across all the DeFi protocols and whatnot that exist over there. So that is this week in Bitcoin. It's mostly ordinals. Bitcoin builder culture is back, baby. It feels good. It also feels weird to say that since I've only been in Bitcoin for like a year and a half, 2 years. But this feels like a big change. So super fun to cover these things. I think we're just getting started. As far as the energy goes, it feels like we're in a bull run right now. Like I'm just super hyped every day to watch all the stuff going on. So that's it for this week. I love y'all. See y'all. Peace.
Welcome to Built on Bitcoin.
I know that things don't always go your way, but I'll be right here waiting. I've been waiting now. I've been trying to figure out a way